And with that in mind, we bring in Sam Dykstra. The Pipeline team just put out the MLB's top 10 catching prospects for this year. Sam, good to see you, man. Who are some of the notable players on this list behind the plate?
Yeah, so we start with the guy who ended 2022 as our number one overall prospect in the game, Francisco Alvarez of the New York Mets. Mets fans got to see a little bit of him at the end of last season. Alvarez has true plus power. It's 35, maybe even touching 40 homers someday type power. It's really special behind the plate. Some real defensive questions for him. Who can he be back there? Can he be average? If he can be a multi-time All-Star because the power is just that good. Also, we have Diego Cartaya of the Dodgers, somebody a little bit lower down the list. He was at 2 A-ball levels last season. A little bit more well-rounded than Alvarez, but doesn't have that height in terms of offensive impact. So it's a really fun debate between those two. Who's the best prospect? Right now on our top 10 that's out at MLB Pipeline, we favor Alvarez, but we could be looking at a point down the line where it's a real debate in the NL who's the best catcher between Alvarez and Cartaya.
Hey, Sam, let me throw a little hook at you before we continue on with players. When you mentioned big league service time with some of these guys, what's your cutoff? How do you guys define the cutoff of somebody who's played in the big leagues but yet is still on the prospect list?
Yeah, so we go off both service time, which is 45 days, or at bats, which is 130. So that affects us. Sometimes some other places might just go off playing time, but we also factor in service time with that. So Francisco Alvarez getting a little bit of time last year, didn't cross that day's threshold, and that's why he's still prospect eligible.
I love Henry Davis, by the way. I love what. Go ahead, Bill. Finish it.
No, go ahead.
No, you're going to say something.
No, get in there.
Henry Davis, I also like a lot. I remember when he got drafted. Really impressive backstory, poised young man. You got him at 7 on this list, right?
Yeah, Henry Davis was one we went back and forth on a lot. Number one overall pick, carries a lot of cachet, obviously, being in the Pirates organization. But we actually have Endy Rodriguez as the better catcher in that system. A little bit more versatile for Endy Rodriguez. He has played the outfield a little bit, so we'll see where he ends up defensively. Henry Davis was really banged up last year. That might have affected his offensive output. Didn't look as great in the Arizona Fall League as we may have expected. But we know the hit tool, the power is certainly in there for him. Even if he has to move off the position of catcher, he could still be an impact bat in Pittsburgh someday.
All right, from catchers to pitchers, left-handers specifically, only 4 lefties made the top 100 Pipeline prospect list. Which lefties stand out to you?
Yeah, so this was another fun debate for us at the top because you have Kyle Harrison, as you can see on your screen now. The San Francisco Giants system spent most of last year at Double-A. Has one of the best fastballs in the minor leagues, not necessarily just because of velocity, but because of shape. It comes in real flat. It pitches really well at the top of the zone. Guys just can't touch it when he's throwing it up there. It got a swing and miss rate at around 40% at Double-A, which is just special stuff. He also has a pretty good breaking ball and a pretty good changeup to round it out. That's why he was able to strike out so many guys at the minor second highest level. But he's going up against Ricky Tiedemann in this debate for the Toronto Blue Jays, a 2021 pick, who climbed 3 levels last year. Didn't quite show it as much. He wasn't working as deep into games as Kyle Harrison was, but his changeup, I got 70 grades on it. It's plus. The fastball, he was picking up velocity going into spring last year, which was his first spring training. If he can carry that over 100 to 120 innings this year, he's probably better than Harrison on a pitch basis. We just need to see it. We need to see him get into the 6th inning, 7th inning like Harrison's done.
So you mentioned not going deep into the game or very much, so I'm assuming that's starters. Do you differentiate between the relievers and starters in the minor leagues? Can there be a flat reliever that's on your list?
There can be on our top 30 lists. When we get into these top 10 lists and our top 100, we like to favor starters because they're going to have greater impact. They're going to be pitching more innings in a season. We're always ranking based on overall impact. So we favor starters, but somebody on that left-handed list who we had a debate about was DL Hall of the Baltimore Orioles. He pitched in relief for the O's at the end of last season. It seems like he could be a reliever, and a really, really dominant one at that, with some pitches that all grade out as plus. But the O's are still holding on to the hope that he can be a starter. So that's why he slots in at number 4. There's still that belief. Maybe going into this year, they still try to stretch him out. It's his control that's probably going to move him into a relief role. But if he could start, he would probably be in the top 3, maybe even the conversation with Tiedemann and Harrison for number 1.
You see 3 of those names right now in Major League Baseball. We could see a lot of the top 10 right-handed pitchers getting called up to the big leagues this season. Who should we expect to get called up here, Sam?
Yeah, if you want to talk about somebody who might crack an opening day rotation, it's Grayson Rodriguez. Somebody for, again, the Baltimore Orioles, who probably would have started for the O's down the stretch last year when they could have really needed him in a playoff run, but had a lat strain that held him back for a few months. They were really cautious with him. They brought him back late. He was getting up to 5 innings at AAA Norfolk. But Grayson Rodriguez ended last year as our top right-handed pitching prospect and the top pitching prospect in the game. Deep set of pitches, deep arsenal for him, plus changeup, plus fastball. He's got a slider and a curveball to work too. But Andrew Painter is the guy we moved into the #1 spot now, and that's something we talked to a lot of evaluators about. We got some really good feedback on Andrew Painter. My colleague Jonathan Mayo did an executive poll. He won as the top pitching prospect in baseball, so we wanted our list to reflect that. Andrew Painter, huge guy, 6'7", throws strikes, got better with his command as the year went on last year. Fastball, slider, he has a curveball, he has a changeup. Again, a deep arsenal. He's only going to get better from here. As you can see, he's 19 years old. He's going to be 20 coming up this year. He's already reached AA. The command was great at AA. It's a true ace potential for Andrew Painter. And maybe, considering he ended last year at AA, he could help the Phils again in the second half coming up this year as they try to get back to the World Series.
And quick thoughts, Sam, before we say goodbye. Hunter Brown, I mentioned only because the Astros have such good young pitching. You're telling me they got another guy in the top 10?
They do, yeah. I mean, we saw a little bit of Hunter Brown last year down the stretch and in the playoffs for the Astros. He's going to get a World Series ring for what they did. Again, he's kind of like the DL Hall of the right-handed list. He was in the bullpen for the Houston Astros just because their rotation was so deep. But if you look at his individual pitches, their starter quality, he could be a #3 starter for anybody else. He could also be a dominant closer if they decide to keep him that way. But, I kind of thought, maybe Hunter Brown is a reliever just because that's what he's done. But the feedback we got is, no, he would be starting anywhere else, and he can be a legit major league starter, as if Houston needs more of those.
Yeah, exactly. Top 100 Prospect Show premiering right here on the network, January 26th, 7 Eastern on MLB Network. Sam Dykstra. Great stuff, Sam. Appreciate you.